budget. So the main aim of this video is to make you understand entire budget terms and definitions and constitution articles related to budget, and finally we will see some of the differences between technical terms in the budget. So friends, in the news articles we are getting a lot of current affairs related to this budget. So in upcoming videos, right, I am going to discuss entire each and every article related to your examination, that is UPSC. So friends, try to watch this video at 1.5x because it is little bit slow while discussing with the live. So that is my small request. Now we will move to the basic terminology. In upcoming session we will discuss live articles which are coming in the newspapers. Is it okay? If yes, please type yes in the chat box. Right. So friends, what is union budget? We have state budgets and union budgets. When it comes to union budget, it is the annual financial statement presented by the finance minister in parliament. It details the government revenue as well as expenditure. So majorly it consists of revenue, right, and expenditure. For the fiscal policies upcoming financial year. So right now our financial year is 2025-26. For this financial year, budget put in the parliament on February 1st. So friends, what is the importance of this budget? So basically, budget plays a crucial role in shaping the economic growth. So based upon the budget overview, the growth depends. Because here we are going to allocate some money. Not only growth, the budget focus on the welfare policies for the social and poverty elimination, farmers benefit, as well as infrastructure development. So we will discuss in detail, right? So before that, we will see some of the constitutional provisions. Article 112 says the president shall lay annual financial statement before the parliament, right? That is the Article 112 talks about the budget. So here, finance minister put the union budget in the parliament. Finally, it is approved by the president. So we will discuss that how the process goes and how the president approval will get. Everything we will discuss in the upcoming slides. So when it comes to Article 112, it talks about the demands for the grants requiring parliamentary approval. So friends, different ministries we have, right? We have agriculture ministry, right? Educational, health. So each and every ministry, so they in detail submit their requirements like their revenue expenditure, right, and capital expenditure. Everything they will put some requirements to the finance minister. The finance minister put in the parliament. That is known as the demands for grants, with a combination of all ministries' demands for grants. And Article 114 talks about the appropriation bills for government expenditure, right? So once the demands for grants approved in the Lok Sabha, so then the government is able to withdraw if and only if the appropriation bill is passed. That is the condition. Article 265 also related to this budget. So it talks about the no tax shall levied or collected without authority of law. It means we need to get the approval, right? So to collect the tax. When it comes to Article 280, it talks about the Finance Commission. So friends, this is overall articles related to this budget. So now we will see the components of the union budget. So we have two main parts, that is revenue and expenditure. What revenue stocks? So revenues receipts is the money received by the government. So we have tax revenue. We have direct tax, that is income tax and corporate tax, and indirect tax like GST, custom duty, and excise duty. So basically, government collects the money in the form of tax revenues. When it comes to non-tax revenues like dividends, so government has some of the a role in the PSUs, right? PSUs pay some dividends to the government and fee collected, like examination fee, some of the fines by the traffic chalanas and everything fines, and interest on the loans. If the government gives some interest to the state government or some other parties, the loan that gets the interest, that is known as the revenue receipts. These are the basically two types of revenues collected by the government. When it comes to the revenue expenditure, so it is the day-to-day expenses, right? So what are the day-to-day expenses? Interest payments on the debt, right? So government takes the debt from the some of the parties, so then it has to pay the some interest, that is known as the day-to-day expenditure. And subsidies, so basically subsidies comes to the agriculture, right? So that is the fertilizer subsidies, one of the major component of revenue expenditure, and fuel subsidies, and food subsidies. When it comes to salaries and pensions benefit schemes, these are the common things present in the different types of the ministries, where the revenue expenditure needs to be spent by the government. When it comes to capex, so it is the capital budget, right? So capital receipts, money borrowed or received for the development purpose. Basically it is for the development purpose, not for the revenue or day-to-day expenses. So when it comes to capital expenses, government takes the money from the loans and bonds, that is known as the market borrowings, and disinvestments. It means it sells the some of the shares in the PSUs. So government has a lot of shares, so by the help of disinvestment it gets some capex, that is capital receipts. And foreign loans and grants, these are the capital receipts for the purpose of development. And a capital expenditure, so this is known as the long term expenditure, basically infrastructure projects, highways, railways, defense, energy. So these are the capital expenditure. Loan disbursements to the states and PSUs also under the capital expenses. So now comes to the different types of indicators. So friends, in the budget, right? So based upon the some of the indicators, people will think is the one of the important points. So to measure the is the economy is is at good position, they will estimate based upon these indicators, right? What is fiscal deficit? It measures government borrowing needs. It means how much we are getting, that is total revenue, and how much we are spending, that is total expenditure. These difference, so that means the expenditure is high, then we need to borrow. So that is the it measures the borrowings of the government, that is fiscal deficit. When it comes to revenue, it is the revenue nature, that is day-to-day expenditure as well as day-to-day receipts. So if there is any it shows the shortfall in each and every year, right? So it shows the some shortfall, that is known as the revenue deficit. When it comes to primary deficit, it talks about the borrowing excluding past debt interest, right? So past debt interest, the formula is this one: fiscal deficit minus interest payment. Effective revenue deficit means revenue deficit minus grants for the creation. It means how much revenue spending for creating assets. So friends, in short, right, in short, if you observe, fiscal deficit talks about the total borrowing requirements. When it comes to revenue deficit, borrowings used for day-to-day expenses rather than investment, right? When it comes to primary deficit, it talks about the borrowings excluding the interest payment. It means we are paying the interest for the past debt that we need to minus. That borrowings is known as the primary deficit. Entire borrowings is the fiscal deficit, and day-to-day borrowings is the revenue deficit. Very simple, clear? Yes. So friends, we have some targets according to FRBM Act. So the target is 3% of GDP. So these are the basic indicators. Based upon this one, we can estimate the our country's financial health. So when it comes to budget presentation, basically in the article 1112 we are seeing president, right? President lays the budget. So we will see how the budget process moves. Generally, budget preparation. Different ministries we have already discussed. We have in India like agriculture, health, education. Different ministries submit their estimates. Like we have requirements for the revenue expenditure, and we will get revenue receipts. These type of estimates they will give to the finance ministry. Based upon that one, they will prepare budget preparation. That presentation in the parliament by whom? Finance minister in Lok Sabha, usually on 1st February, right? So later they will do some general discussion. That's okay. Then after the discussion, departmental, that discussion go to the standing committees for the review the demands for grants, right? So we have already discussed demand for grants. 113 article talks about the demand for grants by the different ministries, and based upon the demands, so we want this much of income, right? So they are going to put some voting, right? Followed by the appropriation bill, right? So once they approve the demands for grant, then they will able to, right, they will able to spend on that money. So if and only if the appropriation bill, which is under the article 1114 passed, it means that bill able to give the authority to extract the money from the consolidated fund of India, right? Finally, we will prepare the finance bill, that is taxation proposals enacted into law, approval by the president, that will come effective into the 1st April. This is overall the process. So here we have 1st February we introduce the budget, right? And finally that will passed by before 1st April, right? That is the concept here. So they have 2 months of time. In these 2 months of time, this process will completed. Yes, friends. So in India, we have different types of budget. When it comes to annual budget, so this is what we are talking, right? Every year it is a regular budget. When it comes to interim budget, it's a temporary budget, right? When general elections are in a year, right? Then we have interim budget as well as vote on account budget. This is also before the elections. These two comes for the temporary budget, like short-term funds for vote on account. When it comes to this is zero-based budget. It means every department justifies some expenditure from scratch, unlike the incremental budget. That is it means they have to justify some expenditure. When it comes to performance budget, so it is totally depends upon the outputs and outcomes instead of just allocation. Right now, we are not focusing on the performance budget, we are focusing on the annual budget, but it is different type of budget. Just keep in mind. So basically, we have these three in the current running. When it comes to some of the challenges in Indian budget processing, so when here in India we have high fiscal deficit. It means fiscal deficit talks about the total borrowings, right? Total borrowings. Here Indian government borrowings are increasing. This is one of the challenge and continues to rise. And subsidy burden. So we have agriculture oriented economy, right? Nearly 50% of the workforce comes from the agriculture. So for the development of, moreover, agriculture is the it is a it is facing very lot of challenges, and it is not income generating. Many farmers are debt driven. So to uplift that farmers, we need to give some subsidies, especially fertilizer subsidies, crop insurance, and some schemes, some support. These are the comes under the subsidy burden, and fuel subsidies, food subsidies. That is the subsidy burden. Another challenge in the Indian budget. When it comes to GST revenue shortfalls, that is okay. Right now, GST is in good condition, but generally, in the taxation revenues are weak when it comes to other countries or developed countries. Infrastructure bottlenecks and need more efficient public investment. Capital expenditure, and there will be some of the projects are starting, but execution is very flaw. So that is another bottlenecks. And climate and sustainability goods. So we need to balance the both development as well as environment. One of the essay topic, that is environment versus development. So that is the one challenge. These are the major challenges, right? High burden, subsidy burden, and revenue shortfalls, inform bottlenecks, climate goods. When it comes to impact of the union budget on common citizen, so in India many people will wait for the budget. So what will come in the budget? So generally taxpayers, so they want their benefits, especially uh, income tax slabs. So right now if you observe, we have the income is increased to 12.75 lakh. So below 12.75 lakh, there is zero tax, right? So this is, it helps the people to get the more disposable income. They can able to spend on the some other activities other instead of paying taxes. So here one challenge is there. If you do the step of increase the budget for this one, so then government will reduce the revenue income. That is challenge. Right now we are facing a revenue shortfall. So if we make this benefit, we need to face this challenge. When it comes to farmers, farmers are able to wait for the budget. Are there subsidies, or any credit allocation, or any new schemes for income support? That's why they are thinking what will be the new schemes in the budget. And when it comes to business people wait for the budget for corporate tax rates or any incentives, any infrastructure fundings and capex allocation. They will think about for their business growth. When it comes to investors like FDIs, FIIs, and stock market people, they will also make whether the budget allocations on their company growth, company performance, that will make them, they will able to invest. Otherwise, they will leave the stock market. When it comes to employment, job orientation, right? So jobs need to be increased. For that, we need to give push to the MSMEs and some other startups. So overall, this type of people affected by the budget, that we need to ensure environment. Based on the question, we need to answer. So friends, we will see, if you see some of the conclusion regarding to budget. So it is a powerful economic tool, right? Based upon their fiscal policies and investment strategies and welfare programs. And it impacts the economic growth and taxation, employment, social welfare. So right, every aspect we have touched. And moreover, it focuses on the infrastructure, fiscal discipline, digital economy, sustainability for future. So overall, this we can conclude. Now, friends, we will see some of the differences between the budget terms. Very, very important um, for the MCQs and answer writing to support your views. You need to know this in detail. Otherwise, you can't able to answer. So, friends, if you see difference between appropriation bill and finance bill, so we know the article is 1114. Here 110, that is money bill. So what is the purpose of this appropriation bill? It authorizes the government to take the money for spending. In demand grants, you can able to get that money, but if you want to spend that money, we need to pass this bill, that is appropriation bill. Finance bill talks about the what are the taxation and what are the revenues. So it is based upon the demands for grants is approved, then only it comes into the picture. So totally it depends upon the taxes, duties, and financial laws. Like income tax, it talks about any GST related, it talks about. So here, when you see Rajya Sabha role, it can discuss but cannot amend. It can suggest amendments. So basically, the Rajya Sabha role is very minimal in both two types of finance bill as well as appropriation bill. So if the question comes difference between Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, you can also mention this point. So Rajya Sabha has a can discuss this 1114 article, that is appropriation bill. When it comes to finance bill also, it can has the suggest amendments but cannot reject. So that is very very important difference between 1114 and 110. When it comes to appropriation bill and demand for grants, it means the article 1114 and 1113. What are the differences? So friends, if you see the definition, we know it authorizes the government to withdraw money from the consolidated fund of India for the sake of expenditure. When it comes to demand for grants, it is the requirement made by the various ministries and departments for funds needed for their operations and schemes, right? So every department need the revenue expenditure for the employees salaries, pension, everything. At the same time, they need to have some operations like a capital investment and infrastructure development, and then some ministries need to implement the some schemes, right? For that they need some amount. That is the demand for grant. When it comes to another point, we know article is 1114, 1113. What is the purpose? It grants the legal permission to spend. It is the legal permission to spend. We all know. It specifies the amount required by the various ministries for their expenditure. So based upon the after passing this demand for grants, then only it can comes into the picture. It is formulated by the various ministries. So it covers both revenue and capital expenditure. Here also same the thing proposed for the expenditure. Voting requirement, here we need Lok Sabha votes on entire bill as whole. Here also Lok Sabha votes, but there is no scope for the Rajya Sabha. Yes, Rajya Sabha can discuss but cannot amend or reject. Here also same the thing. It cannot vote for the demand for grants. We all know the process. So he has debate in the Lok Sabha, passed, sent to Rajya Sabha, can discuss, signed by the President. So part of the budget process discussed and approved before appropriation bill. Same thing comes here. So what is the necessity? Ensure the spending, it prepares for the requirements. Yes. So friends, now we will see some of the revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Very important for the MCQ purpose. So revenue expenditure is day-to-day functioning. Capital expenditure is for the long term and asset creation and infra and development. It is recurring, it is non-recurring. It maintains the services and operations without creating assets. Leads to creation of assets. Impact on economy, it boosts the economic growth. Some of the examples, friends, like salaries, pensions, interest, defense. Here, construction of highways, lands purchase, loans, like defense equipment, procurement, investment in public sector enterprises. So, impact on the fiscal deficit. So, it increases the fiscal deficit, and generally, it is also increases, but we have long-term benefits. That is the one advantage. It appears in the revenue account, it appears in the capital account, and it doesn't create any assets, but it creates assets. So friends, these are the overall definition and terminology and differentiation. So friends, thank you for watching this video. I will come up with the new editorial live articles related to latest budget. See you in the next session.